All right, I am here with the multi-unit man, Mr. Paul DeBruzzo. Can you, you might want to pull that microphone in front of you there. Okay, Paul, so we're going to start with defining what we're referring to as the multi-unit and apartment building market. I want to ask you about the current state of it. So how many units and what type of homes are we talking about when we say multi-units and apartment buildings?
So a multifamily property is basically anything that has more than one unit. So even if it's a duplex, I mean, technically that's a multifamily property, but I believe the expectation and assumption for most people when we're talking about that multifamily and apartments are, larger properties, 4, 5, 6 units, 10 units, 12 units, even larger than that. I would say most individual investors or small partnerships work within that 2 units all the way up to 20 to 30 units is probably typical. Beyond that is at least in our market with the way prices are, you're usually talking about large institutional investors who are playing in that area, so 2 to 30 units.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and what is the state of that particular market right now?
Well, I mean, it's still there, still in demand. It's a product that doesn't really ever shed demand. We're always short units, or at least we have been for the past 10 years. I mean, with all the immigration and population growth that we get, we're not keeping up with building enough units and creating enough units to meet the demand in that rental market. And as prices have increased, it's increased the number of people who need rentals because they just can't afford to buy, either because of pricing or can't get a mortgage, or they don't have the down payment enough. So either way, there's pressure on that market from the supply end and from the demand end.
Okay, and how is that any different from the single-family home market? Are the two just tied together completely? Are they moving in different ways right now?
No, I mean, it's a little bit different than, at least in my view, from the single family because, when you're talking about new construction units being built, that's typically a single family unit, whether it's a condo or a townhouse or a single detached unit. It's meant for one family. It's a single unit. The new construction of multifamily or purpose-built rental is very few and far between. Like, I don't know the exact numbers, but I would estimate it represents less than 5% of all new construction. So we're severely short rental units, big time.
So how are you looking at that as an investor? Do you see that as an opportunity in that market particularly?
Yeah, I mean, if you have the capacity and power to go build a 200 unit building in almost anywhere in Southern Ontario, you're probably going to do well.
Sure, but what about like just the smaller time investor who's looking for an apartment building maybe between 5 to 15 units?
Of course, you're getting in between the same freight train of demand, but the power of multifamily exists with economy of scale, right? That's really one of the main drivers of multifamily and why investors want to get involved, is because you get economy of scale. Instead of buying 10 single family homes, you can buy 10 or 20 units for probably a lot less money and achieve the same or better ROI with more cash flow, right? So I think if you're just starting and you have the capacity to get multifamily, you're probably going to start with a duplex, triplex, fourplex. And, if you've been doing this for a while or you have a good amount of capital to start with, you can look to something beyond 4 units, right?
When do you typically recommend somebody make that jump?
I think it depends, A, on experience, and B, on the size of your investment capital, or how much investment capital you have to play with, right? I mean, if you're business savvy enough and you can figure out the numbers, it's not that hard to figure out that, your numbers can work better with, more units under one roof. That's just in black and white in most cases. But if you have the capacity and the down payment to do it, you can take on 4, 5, 6 units to start with. It's not that much different than doing a single family or a basic duplex. It really isn't. I think mentally it might be tougher to swallow, or it may seem like you're getting involved in more or taking on a bigger property. But in reality, the foundational principles that you're following are the same. And if you're using a property manager, then there's not much difference at all, right? The business is in the numbers with multifamily.
So you personally, as an investor, your experience now, you've graduated almost from the single family homes and the duplexes, the smaller multi-units, up to larger buildings. Let's just say you had the capital and you were about to jump into the market and you could buy 4 single family homes, or you could buy a 4-unit. At your current experience level and where you're at in life, what decision would you make there?
I mean, it's tough to answer. If you're asking me personally, I'm more opportunistic. Like, just depends which one's a better deal. You know, while multifamily is a great game to get involved in because of all the things we just talked about, and you know there are more also, it's not easy to get in from an investment perspective. Like, they just don't exist for sale in any great quantity, and if you don't believe me, just go on MLS, on realtor.com or .ca or whatever it is, wherever you are, and you know, look at how many 4plexes are for sale in your area or how many 6plexes. There's always very few. So sometimes it's a condition of the marketplace that you may have to adjust your strategy, even though in theory it might make sense to get as many units as humanly possible under one roof. The market may only be able to bear certain fruit. So if I'm looking at it myself, I'm saying I have this much money, I can get this or I can get this, and I'm waiting for the market to give me the best deal possible. Right?
So you'll just jump on whatever the better opportunity is.
Sure. If there's nothing available, right?
Yeah.
You gotta take what you get.
Yeah, in this market, you gotta really work with what you have with the inventory levels.
I mean, even though prices have kind of come down a little bit from the insane high that it was, I mean, I think it's more have regulated themselves. We're still short. You know, there's still not a lot of inventory out there, or not as much as there should be, right? And that's the case anyway. I just got back from Florida, and it's the same deal. Nothing available. I just got back from Costa Rica, same deal. There's not enough supply for as much demand as there is for, you know, good quality income producing real estate. So if you get a good deal in front of you, and you had hopes and dreams of it being something slightly different, or you wanted a 4plex but it's a good triplex, it's pretty hard to say no.
It's funny, I was just in Kenora, Ontario, just outside of, 2 hours from Winnipeg, so near the border of Manitoba and Ontario. Same deal, massive housing issue up there. My girlfriend's going up there to work for a bit, and we were struggling to find a place for her, and we found something last minute. But it's funny that you mentioned Florida and Costa Rica. I mean, even in Northern Ontario. I mean, I know everywhere in the world isn't in a housing crisis. It just seems like all of these areas relevant to Canadians is right now. And whether we're talking about single family homes or multi-units, the demand is there. And even with the interest rate increases recently, it seems to be holding up. Like, doesn't solve that fundamental underlying issue.
Yes. And you know, what's great about multifamily is the economics usually always work. I mean, you know, you could say the price of your building or the value of your building may have went down over the last 3 months, but rents have skyrocketed. You know, in some cases they went up 5 to 10% in 3 months, you know, sometimes a little bit more. So you can't argue with these kind of economics. No matter what's going on in the marketplace, if you're holding multifamily, you tend to be doing well. There's always an option for you to maneuver, you know. That's kind of, and I'm not crapping on single family homes, but you're just limited with what you can do. You can only create a certain amount of income with single family homes. So if you intend to make your real estate portfolio into a, you know, more sophisticated business, and you want to get greater results, you kind of have to step up your game, right? And I still buy single family homes. I'm just another tool in the toolbox, right? You want big results, you kind of have to play a bigger game. Just
for the scale side of it. Yeah. But you're still looking for whatever the opportunity is. Doesn't matter the type of home.
Sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Paul.